Hey, this is Betsy Lay from Lady Justice Brewing, and now it's time for Beer for Breakfast.
You heard her right there, Betsy Lay of Lady Justice Brewing, hanging out on Beer for Breakfast. Thank you so much, Betsy, for joining the show right here on the Not Normal Network. You are so kind to come up here and hang out with me. I really want to pick your brain, and that's what this week's new episode is all about. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Where do you come from? You come from out of within the city. I know we're right here at Factotum right now, where this resides. Weird to kind of start like that, but
yeah.
You live in this area then, or you're coming?
I do live in the area. I live pretty close to Old Town Arvada, actually.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I am originally from St. Louis, and I moved to Denver in 2000 to go to University of Denver, and been in and out since, but really have been here solidly for the last 10 years. So I graduated from DU. I left for about 4 or 5 years and then came back.
Cool. So
Yeah.
you you have an affinity for the blues?
I should say that I do, but I have not paid attention to the blues since I was in second grade. And Brett Hall was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, Brett Hall. Nice name drop right there.
See,
there you go.
That's the last time I was a blues fan. But I do understand that they are in the
and while this is airing, I think
show.
the second game I think is going to be going down, because Monday will be the first one. So while this airs this next Wednesday, this will be game 2 will be going on.
Well,
so hopefully
let's go Blues.
There we go. Exactly.
I did learn something fun today, though.
Yeah?
That the Blues, that St. Louis and Boston are the only 2 cities that have ever played each other in a championship in the NHL, NBA, NFL, and MLB.
Wow, that's a great fact right there.
And it's amazing because St. Louis hasn't had a NBA team, so this was their old
the ABA.
Yeah. So.
Wow,
there you have it.
That's a throwback fact right there.
Yeah.
Wow, who would have thought? Betsy Lay dropping bombs right there. That is awesome. I love it. We are hanging out. So we're here in Factotum. I kind of mentioned that. You guys are currently residing in this. You are an Arvada resident. You kind of live right over here. I actually live right by you, too. I'm
Nice.
Wheat Ridge, North Wheat Ridge, kind of Garrison I-70 area. So we're hop, skip, and a jump from each other. But that's what's so nice about this place. But Lady Justice, you guys did not start here in Factotum. And there's a story to follow all of this, but where did kind of this all blossom from? Where is this from?
Yeah, so Lady Justice, if we're going way back, Lady Justice the first spark of Lady J. Are you getting this? Sorry,
sorry. Is your headphone? Yeah,
I'm getting it.
Yeah. Sorry, it's the headphones.
I thought it was the microphone.
The first spark of Lady J, though. Yes.
The first spark of Lady J happened in 2010, 2011-ish, when myself and my 2 friends, now co-founders of Lady Justice, Jen Cuesta and Kate Power, we were working together as AmeriCorps Vistas. So essentially you're a professional volunteer, and you do capacity building at a nonprofit, and basically it's a volunteer gig. You get paid whatever the poverty level is of the city that you serve. Mm-hmm. So it was during the recession, and we were trying to raise money for this nonprofit, and all the money had dried up because nobody was giving grants away. People didn't want to donate a lot because everybody was broke at that point. And so we would go to Vine Street.
Which is probably a lot different now if you're approaching people on a donation scale of a brewery opening up. Yeah.
Now we would hope that people would be more generous with their dollars. But at the time, it was really hard to raise money for this nonprofit. And it was a cool nonprofit doing good work. And we would go, with the very little money that we had, we would go to Vine Street Pub over at 17th and Vine. Mm-hmm. And we would drink beers and just commiserate about how much it sucked to try to fundraise.
Really, yeah.
And so at one point, just a little, just a tipsy little idea that Jen had that was I wish all my beer money could go towards, this nonprofit. And that was kind of the spark of it. And to be honest, I don't remember this happening at all. Not that I was so drunk, I don't remember. I just it was such a passing conversation that I didn't hold on to it. But Kate held on to it. And Kate and Jen both left Colorado.
Kind of just sat there in the back of their
they
mind,
rolled
just
around.
like, wait a minute. Yeah, and for you, you were just like, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. And so Kate went to law school. Jen went to law school. And during Kate's law school experience, she was in a business law class and had to write a business plan. And so she emailed Jen and I, and she's like, hey, remember that idea about beer and nonprofit money? And I was like, kind of? She's like, well, do you mind if I pitch this to, this class and write a business plan for it? And I was like, sure, go for it.
And allow the class to kind of come up with the way the angle to pitch this. Or something.
So it was basically to get feedback. So she got feedback from other law students. She got feedback from her professor, and it was all really good. People got excited about it. So she just kind of ran with it. She established us as a L3C, which is a limited low profit liability company, which the federal government kind of set up like for Tom's Shoes, like the social enterprise tax designation, where we still pay taxes. We function just like a small business, but our mission can't be to make money.
Yeah, it's to support the business and kind of any of the nonprofits you work with and everything like that.
Exactly. So it's like a mesh of a LLC and a nonprofit. So that's where it all began, and we were established in 2014. Kate and Jen graduated.
Do they actually have a term for that hybrid though? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, it's
it's LLC nonprofit kind of blend.
Yeah, I don't. The best that I have seen is really just like social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, and then the actual tax designation is low profit limited liability.
Huh.
So yeah.
So going back, so 2014, you and Kate and
Kate and Jen moved back to Denver. I was already here. We were both. Well, all three of us actually were looking for work, so we had a ton of time on our hands. And so we just we met regularly. We homebrewed together. All of us had homebrewed on and off, for a few years before all this. So we were familiar with beer. We loved to drink it. We
but with
knew
our
that we
powers combined.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
so
is
we
5
started
years
brewing.
ago then, right?
Yeah.
Well, then.
And we were brewing together all the time, like every chance that we had. Most weekends we were brewing stuff and trying to come up with what would maybe be flagship beers or whatever. And then we launched our fundraising campaign in 2015, and we opened for business in 2016.
And before you get into opening for business for 2016, did it ever cross your guys' mind to go, maybe we should just do this as a business and a brewery instead of a nonprofit?
Oh, totally. We went back and forth.
Maybe we should make money off.
Yeah. Well,
as nice as you are with your business model and everything like that.
We do get a lot of people who are confused as to why we would possibly do this to ourselves.
How much labor are you putting in for all of this?
Wait a minute.
You're like, a lot of love. I get a lot of love out of this labor.
Exactly. Well, all of us came from a nonprofit background, so working hard for very little money was something we were used to.
I work in radio. It's the same thing. I basically do this just for, I do this for basically just to have a beer or two with somebody, and have a great conversation with somebody like yourself. But
Totally. Yeah, and so we thought about a lot of different models. We tried to figure out the best way to do this. We thought about establishing a separate 501c3 entity that would essentially be the Lady Justice Brewing Foundation that we would funnel the money through. But we discovered that with this low profit limited liability tax designation that we actually could do the same thing without having to take the time. It takes a long time to establish a nonprofit.
Yeah.
It's a years-long process. So we were like, let's save our time and just jump right in and just have it be a small business, and we'll just donate money as a business rather than trying to do it as a nonprofit.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
And that was back in 2015 is when it officially got rolling, right? Then?
Yeah, we did an Indiegogo campaign. We crowdsourced our goal.
What's an Indiegogo campaign?
So it's it's crowdsourcing. So it's basically a Kickstarter.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're just asking the community to give you money.
Okay. Help us.
Yeah, exactly. And so
we'll help you eventually with great beer.
Yeah, and that was exactly it. So our goal was $15,000. We knew we wanted to start small because our model was so unique that we actually didn't know if it was going to work. Mm-hmm. So we didn't want to take out big loans, and we didn't want to be in debt to anybody. So we were like, let's start small. Let's just buy a small batch, setup, and see what we can do with it.
What was the small batch setup?
So we bought a 1.5 BBL system from Colorado Brewing Systems up in Fort Collins, who are one of the best companies I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
They are phenomenal. So if anybody wants to do nano brewing, check out.
How do you stumble into that? Was there somebody who maybe pointed you in that direction? It was like, here, this is the quality you want. Then if this is like the step up as a home brewer trying to make a commercial style beer, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, I don't remember how we found them. They were a pretty new company when we were getting going. We were, I think, among some of their first clients. Okay. So we stumbled across them somehow and went up to, they owned a little brewery in Wyoming, but they operate out of Fort Collins now, and met with them, and it was really great. And so, yeah, so we priced everything out. We set a fundraising goal of $15,000, and we hit $20,000 in a week.
And how much, like, what was the system itself was probably, I mean, that's just part of it, obviously, but you had to make it somewhat mobile, right?
Right. It had to be small. It had to...
I mean, there's a lot of specifications you guys had with this, because it wasn't like you're building a build out of a brewery. You guys are actually looking for something that's going to be extremely efficient and something that you can be portable and usable kind of where you need it to be. Yeah.
And we knew that we were really good home brewers, and we needed something that would let us scale up into a professional realm without knowing how to run a 15 BBL system, essentially. And so we found this system, and it worked, and we found this place. It was an office inside of an old car garage, 332 square feet to be exact. We paid rent there, and we sublet it from a guy who owned a coffee catering company. So he had the lease on the whole building and rented us basically the office. And in the office, luckily the ceilings were tall enough to fit the brew equipment in. So we had Brewhilda, our little 1 BBL system, and then we had two 30, I guess they were 1 BBL fermenters. Okay. So we had 2 of those.
And you could like split the batch into 2 different ones, or you would just kind of just make small, I guess it'd be, so you would avoid the boil over, you had a big enough kit to do the 1.5 barrel or whatever cooking off, but at the same time, the storage wise.
Well, and that was part of the efficiency. The Colorado brewing systems, their brew systems are set up to basically be glorified brew in a bag. So we did our mash and our boil all on the same kettle.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah. So there's a mesh basket that lifts up with a pulley in it.
The nice little that's awesome. Yeah. It's kind of like a small version of what they have at Welcome Home Brewery down in Parker. Yep. Aaron's got a really good one. Aaron and Sharon, they have an awesome little pulley system that they got for it. And you're just like, damn, that thing is like pretty heavy duty and badass.
Yeah. So because of that, we were able to fit everything into the corner of the room. And then there was already a like industrial grade refrigerator in there, and that's how we cold crashed. And that was basically it. There were some shelves in there that we kept our equipment on, but so because of that, we didn't have a tap room, and so we had to figure out, how do we sell this beer? At that point we all had full-time jobs, and we're like, how do we distribute how do we distribute this beer without a tap room?
Exactly. And that's a tough question you've got to figure out for yourself, and when we come back, we'll answer that question and so much more. We're going to take a quick break with our sponsor, with the Denver Brews Cruise, and also catch up with Amy Over of the Rebels Project. This is Beer for Breakfast on the Not Normal Network. Grab yourself another pint. It is Wednesday night here on N3.
Year now, the Denver Brews Cruise has been a sponsor for the Not Normal Network, and to celebrate, Brent Shivey and the DBC are offering you 10% off your next adventure to go cruising for a bruising mile high style. Just visit denverbrewscruise.com, and during checkout, in the How Did You Hear About Us section, select Beer for Breakfast and type in promo code B4B2019 to get 10% off your next adventure on the Denver Brews Cruise to go cruising for a bruising mile high style.
Hey, it's Sierra, and honestly, I have no idea what's going on.
So high right now. I have no idea what's going on.
But I do love beer, especially beer for breakfast.
Hi guys, this is Amy Over from the Rebels Project. If you want to show your support for the Rebels Project, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at www.therebelsproject.org. May is mental illness month, mental health month. So I think it's just really important that we shed light that, it's not that when you've gone through a trauma like this, it's not that you're mentally ill. You're just mentally wounded. So I think there's a big difference between, mental illness and you're mentally wounded. We went through trauma. So it's just really important that we shed light on mental health, mental wellness.
Hey, this is Dustin Wirtz here, down sitting outside the brewery in lovely Pueblo, Colorado at the Shamrock. And I was born and raised here, and I have an affinity for this place. It is my hometown, and I know damn near everybody in it. So there's just a level of community that you really can't find anywhere else.
Man, what a time it was down in Pueblo. Seriously, it changed the whole entire notion. Anybody had ever painted a picture for me in Pueblo? I'm sorry, but no. It is a fun place to go. And down there, Shamrock Brewing Company is a place to hit up. And thank you to Dustin Wirtz, who hopped on the show last week. And don't forget, you can check out all the archived episodes on n3entertainment.com, on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, all that good stuff. And let's get right back into this. Betsy, we were talking about this, the idea of being a small little brewery in this tiny little building and now how do we get our name out there?
Exactly. And so we brainstormed some ideas. We wanted to do a beer food truck where we could drive around and hand out beer, but that is very illegal.
Oh my God, that'd be genius. How about a food cart?
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
so the food truck isn't acceptable.
We asked the state of Colorado so many questions, and they were just like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And so Kate, who regularly got her produce from a CSA, Community Supported Agriculture Share, which basically is you buy a membership, a share into the farm, and then you get the harvest from the farm.
Okay.
So it was an idea that I know a lot of people in Denver were familiar with. So we had a lot of friends who did CSAs. That's how they got their produce every week. And so we're like, okay, what if we did a CSA but for beer? And we did some research. We couldn't really find anybody in Denver doing it. There was another guy who was trying to figure it out too, but nobody seemed to have this
concrete idea of how you could structuralize this and make it actually.
Because why would you if you could just open a tap room and make money there, right?
You're almost you're almost trying to is it the idea of almost striking up a farmer's market for a quick day or two and have a little beer kind of.
Right. And so we were just okay, what if we had people who would buy a membership and then once a month they could pick up beer from us at our location because we were licensed, we were fully legal in this tiny little office space. And so what if people came to us and picked up the beer once a month? What would that look like? And we emailed the state, and for the first time they weren't no. They were actually honestly, we have no idea, but give it a shot. Yeah, and if you do something wrong, we'll tell you.
Be our experimental beer of the month club kind of thing. And
we had a guy.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we had a guy at the state who we would email all the time, and I think he liked us because he would keep an eye out, and whenever he heard or saw about something that we were thinking about doing, he would send us an email and be just so you know, this idea is legal, but this part isn't. We were thinking about, could we deliver to people? And and somehow Jack read about that somewhere, and he's no, you can't deliver this beer to people. So we had a guy at the state who was just I'm going to look out for you and make sure that you don't get your license suspended.
Yeah. Listen, we're not trying to deliver weed, and that is obviously what everybody are trying to look at right now. We're trying to just deliver a product that we're brewing in a spot that doesn't have you didn't have a tap room. You didn't really have a commercial license to really sell out of it or anything like that.
Right. We had the wholesale and manufacturing license, so we knew that we could send people out the door with our beer.
But they couldn't come in and actually drink the beer.
Only because we didn't have room to put them anywhere.
Yeah, you didn't actually have, and then at that point, then you're having to put in bathrooms and all that crap that ends up happening with all of it and the expansion of it all, and then you're well, now we're just an establishment, and this isn't what we were looking to be. Kind of almost looking to be just a place that brews and distributes and does it in such a small way that it isn't too much overhead that it can still be a nonprofit or I'm sorry, what was it called? Low
profit limited liability company.
Thank you.
L3C.
L3C.
But, yeah, and I mean, we were constrained by the bounds of the fact that we didn't want to go into debt for this, and we had I actually think we were the smallest brewery by square footage in the state of Colorado, and probably the country. I mean, 330 square feet is not. I don't know if you know what that looks like, but it's like
I'm
not
assuming
even
it's
half
like
of the size of the room we're
it's
in
like
right
basically like a master bedroom, right?
Totally,
300 square feet is something around a master bedroom size bedroom.
Yeah. That would be a big master bedroom in Denver, I'm learning, but like out there in Arvada, way out there in the suburbs.
Wheat Ridge, sweet. Shh. Actually, don't tell anybody about all that great stuff. No, just kidding.
It's ugly and everybody's mean. Don't move.
Oh my God. Seriously,
Don't
a bunch of
cross
assholes like me
the
live out
city
there.
limits.
Don't go over there.
Stay in Denver.
Exactly.
It really is a wonderful, not
It really
so
is.
secret. But anyway,
It really is.
yeah, so we were tiny, and so we're like, how do we make this work in a really scrappy way?
Yeah.
And so
Which is
we
awesome.
we put it out there. We put the. I had no idea if this was going to work. The three of us were pretty nervous. We had no idea if people would actually buy into this thing, but we had a really good response with our fundraiser, and so we had a good pool of people that had already given us money for this, and so we knew that if we could get them to get excited about it, they would spread the word. And we launched those memberships, and we sold out almost immediately. I think we did
When did you launch those members? So that was like probably 2016, probably another like year later.
August.
Or so?
Our first beer that we released was September of 2016.
2016. Okay,
Yeah.
so and so yeah, like wow, you're almost on your 3 years of like actually launching that first beer. What was the first beer you guys launched?
Oh, that's a good question.
You ladies, excuse me, that is wrong to say that right there.
So we did the first round of memberships was a 6-month membership. People got once a month, they got a 22-ounce bomber of the beer that we were doing, and then a 12-ounce test batch if we had the time to brew something that we were trying to figure out, we would. And we had 75 people who were members. And that first, that's such a good question. I might have to look this up.
Like, yeah, what that first actual
Oh my
beer
gosh, that's a great question.
Those first batches. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stump you right now.
Oh, that's great.
Must
I'm gonna look
be this
up.
enjoyable sour, this
I
kettle
know.
sour that we're enjoying right now.
Yeah, Amy brewed that one. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. So, I can tell you that early on. Oh, I can do this. Okay, so we had our Better World Blonde. We had a really good blonde ale in that first round. We had a IPA. We had the IPA that Jen likes, is what we call it, because Jen hates IPAs, and so Kate and I were determined to brew an IPA that she liked.
Awesome.
And she says she likes it. She might have been lying to us, but she says she likes it.
I like it. Stop bothering me about trying to get me to drink IPAs.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had a good stout that we did. So we were pretty classic in that first round.
So they got a 22-ounce bomber that you would bottle up for them, and then what was the other one? That
Just
they
a
would
little 12-ounce bottle of something we were working on.
And you were doing all of this in this little office space, or kind of, what was an offshoot of, what was the business next to it again?
It was a coffee business, but it was inside, like, basically an abandoned car garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were brewing it in this, like, kind of exposed garage.
Totally.
And doing all of this. And so you're like, yeah, we're going to start bottling off these beers, and we're going to create a program, a beer program to start buying these off. And I mean, I assume then, since you were brewing in such small batches, you could really only have so many members. I mean, it's not like you could maximize yourself to like the point of the top of the amount of members, but there was at a certain point probably 75 you said you got to?
Yeah, so we wanted 75 and we sold 75 pretty quickly, and we also all had full-time jobs on top of this. So we were doing this nights and weekends. And so our pickups were Tuesday night. There's a Tuesday night and a Sunday once a month that people could come pick their beer up from us.
At the place?
At the place. And on the Sundays, we would brew whatever they were going to get the next month, so they could come in and see what we were doing and see the process and hang out with us for a little bit and
that's
chat with
really
us.
rad.
Yeah.
I love that idea of like like we'll make Sunday brew day another day when you're coming to pick up, because honestly, like any brewer out there is like, wait a minute, you brew on Sunday? Are you crazy? Like, because if anything, they'll maybe brew on Monday, but it's usually a Tuesday brew day, because Monday you reestablish, you look over the cooler, you do your inventory, you do your ordering, and boom, we're ready to launch on Tuesday. But shoot, to have to come in there on Sunday. But the idea of giving your, I guess you would say like VIP members, you know, like, I mean, what were they called? Like, did you call it a certain program? Like, is there something fancy for it? Like,
so we called it a community-supported brewery membership. So they are CSB members is what we call them, and they immediately.
I heard you say that earlier.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so that's what that stands for.
Community supportive brewery members.
Yeah, and so they sort of became like our family. Like they would come in, they would bring their dogs and their kids to pick up the beer, and we would learn about.
Hell yeah,
what
you get to go pick up the beer while you're seeing what the next batch is that you get to pick up for the next month.
Totally. So it was really fun. We got to know these people really well because we saw them once a month, and they would always stop by and say hi, and really excited about what we were doing. And they would say, "Hey, I really loved what you did in that last batch. Like, hey, could you brew a saison?" So one of our favorite beers that we brew right now is our sage saison, that we use sage from one of our members' backyards, and she wanted.
That shit just grows like crazy too.
Oh my gosh, she has so much of it.
I grow so many vegetables and herbs and stuff like that, but stuff like sage, mint, you're just like, oh my god.
Takes over. Yeah, so they wanted to give out as Christmas presents a beer, and so we met, and we actually. Brewed a special. They commissioned this batch of sage saison, and then it went over so well that we put it on our next membership round. So stuff like that would happen where our members would just come in and just like hang out and brainstorm with us, and they'd also give us ideas about, hey, I found this really cool nonprofit that I think you should check out. I think they would love to get a scholarship from you guys, stuff like that. So it just really became this really fun, friendly, like family style. It was totally laid back, and these people.
You built the most like friendly family style.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not here to make money. Hey, we're here to just help, and we're here to brew and help you. And your business model completely invites all of that.
And it made a lot of sense to people, I think, once they pulled up and they saw that we were like essentially like there was no branding on the building.
There's no storefront or anything, right?
People had to walk through a garage to even find us. Like this was totally like. So
rad.
It kind of felt almost.
And where was this again? Sorry.
This is in Mountain View, which is at 44th. We were basically at 44th and Sheridan. If you know where the Walmart is on 44th and Lakeside Amusement Park, we were right across the street from that Walmart on 44th.
Like on Fenton?
Yep, Eaton Street actually.
You're actually on a house?
We were right. Our neighbors were at the house, so there's like the smoker friendly, and then there's this. Yeah. What looks like...
My parents used to live right down the street from that 3 years ago.
Okay.
You're telling me...
No, the Firestone that's right there, it's right across the street
Oh,
from
my
that.
God.
Yeah.
You're telling me beers were being brewed right down the street from my parents' house and I didn't even notice?
Totally.
I'm pissed. I'm disappointed in myself. I have to say this right now. I'm calling myself out. That is terrible on me right there to not know that there was beer being brewed. Gosh, man.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just didn't visit my parents enough to notice there was a brew day going on or something. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
We tried our best to be inconspicuous.
So you were brewing out of somebody's office house kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so we were subletting. It honestly didn't look much different than what we're in now, which Factotum is from years back, I think, a long time converted
garage warehouse.
Yeah. So if you've seen any car garage, you've seen where we were brewing out of. Like, if you've seen the waiting room of a Jiffy Lube, that is what we were brewing out of.
Oh, man, it's always my favorite. Nothing like it. Even worse, too, when you have that coupon and then you hand it to them. Yeah. And then you're like, you get your total and you're like, wait, what? And they're like, oh, yeah, there was the $15 charge on this, and then we vacuumed. And I'm like, y'all didn't even really vacuum very well. Holy crap, how's this oil change $63?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
love you, Jiffy. They're not a sponsor on the show. Who cares? I can say whatever the hell I want.
Know.
Exactly. They might make me wait a little longer when I get my next oil change.
Oh, yeah.
Weird. If that's anything different from the last time.
Totally.
So you're doing this back in 2015-ish,
2016, 2017.
And so 2016, 2017, you have like all of this beer, these memberships, this whole idea. Did anybody ever like approach you when they came in there with the idea of what you were already doing was so awesome? Did anybody walk in and go, we want to make this like, how do we make this a part of us? Or how do we, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you had the collaborations that come about because there's this cool idea that Lady Justice Brewing is just doing their thing and then they're willing to kind of just come over to wherever. I mean, we kind of mentioned this between the break about you working with Craig at Stieg back in the day and all these places. But did you ever have a moment where, or maybe you did, like just kind of where you guys were doing this there and somebody was just like, why do that when you can just do this right now with us or something like that? You ever get hit with somebody like a business plan or some maybe investor or something weird like that, something crazy?
Yeah, funny enough, nobody was throwing money at a brewery that gives all of their profits away, but weird. Maybe people, just random people around the neighborhood. Yeah, nobody. The people in Mountain View were so excited to have us in the town of Mountain View. Mountain View is one of the smallest towns in Colorado. It's like 5 square blocks, as you know, and it's
like Lakeside.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
it's just basically exactly like if you go from the Arby's and past the Wells Fargo, you've gone too far.
Exactly.
You've left it. Yeah.
It got famous a few years ago when 9 News did that thing about how the cops are always giving tickets away for like a crack in your windshield and stuff like that.
Don't say that. I have like 6 in my windshield right now, and I drive down 44th every single day and night on my way to and from work.
Well, it's probably a good thing you don't visit your parents so often because you probably would have gotten some sort of ticket for all of your cracked windshields. But anyway, so like Mountain View, Mountain View
not
loves
there anymore. Now they're off of
Ames,
all right.
The neighborhood loves us. Mountain View didn't have a brewing code. They set up a brewing code just for us. So anyway, we were happy. And
wait a minute, that little area that is like the most stubborn place
brewery
about any business coming in, but they were still willing to let you just.
And you know what I think it
brew
is?
it as a business though, which is kind of cool. They allowed you to at least take the step up from just home brewing.
Totally, and they, and we were licensed with the TTB. Yeah, we did everything. We were no different than any other brewery in the eyes of any city, except for we didn't have a tap room, so our tax revenue at that point would have been minimal to them. But Mountain View, they were making a lot of money off of dispensaries at that time, and I think they were finally starting to see.
Yeah, there's like the Walmart and dispensaries across from the Walmart.
Yeah,
right.
Right?
Are you kidding?
Totally. And so they were starting to see the value of recreation in the town and what it could do for them, and so they welcomed us with open arms. They were wonderful, but we grew out of it pretty fast.
Yeah, like we can't just distribute this beer or like just do kind of this business model of what we're doing. We've actually got to kind of step up the game and move
we needed to scale up because we wanted to scale up because we wanted to be able to donate more money out. So the more memberships that people bought, more beer that people bought from us, the more money we could give to the community.
Yeah, and brewing on that 1 barrel or 1.5 barrel system and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to help expand or help any sort of nonprofit more than just basically what you have for your own your own self limitations. You kind of created at the beginning.
Yep.
So where do you go from there?
So we were hopeful that we could have stayed in that building and sort of expanded out, but the landlord wasn't really ready for that yet.
Fucking smoker friendly. It's so funny.
It's totally. I kept being like, I wonder if they're gonna go out of business soon. Could we brew in the smoker friendly? But no,
those places will never go away.
They will be there, and like the rest of the state of Colorado.
It follows.
Could fall
dispensaries are probably laundering money into those things so that they can put their money somewhere.
Yeah, right.
And invest into smoker friendlies and keep them afloat.
Totally. Yeah. So we were busting at the seams. We needed somewhere to go, and so we found out that we were gonna have to leave that space in Mountain View. I think we found that out on a Monday, and by the following Friday, Laura Bruns, who owns Factotum, had sent us an email and had just said, hey, I heard that you might be looking for a tap room soon. Would you want to share space with us? Because it was right after Wits End and Strange came together. So that was the first time that people were like, oh, crap, you could have 2 breweries under one roof. And so...
yeah, merge 2 models under one place.
Exactly.
The LLCs and all that can still exist under one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so... when Laura heard about Wits End and Strange doing what they were doing, she was like, well, what are breweries in Denver that I would want to do this with? And we had known Laura and Chris. Laura and Chris are brother-sister team who own Factotum. And we had known them since right when we opened. And so Laura was like, I could work with you guys. You can move in here. Do you want to share space? We can do this. We can do what Whitson and Strange did. And I wrote her back immediately. I was like, dude, we're about to be homeless. Absolutely.
Yeah,
like let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we met and figured out how it was going to happen, and we moved in. I think, in the middle of 2017, and then once the licensing and everything got taken care of, we were kind of official right about September of 2017. And we've been here since then, and then our time here is going to end next month in June, and we're going to figure out what to do after that.
And on that note right there, we have a break to take, because when we come back, there's a lot to talk about right now.
Sure.
There is definitely a lot to talk about. Oh God. For the listener out there, you may or may not know, but on the other side of this break, a quick little break right now, we are going to talk about it here with Betsy Lay. This is Beer for Breakfast. We are hanging out with Lady Justice Brewing, and things are only going to get better, and we're going to learn more and more right here on the Not Normal Network.
Hi guys, this is Amy Over from the Rebels Project. If you want to show your support for the Rebels Project, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at www.therebelsproject.org. And you're listening to Beer for Breakfast.
Nothing says summer like hot babes, cheesy 80s hair metal, and listening to a bunch of dudes talking about stuff.
That's hot. 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 This is hot.
So go check out 4th and 20, Beer for Breakfast, and Let's Make Fun, all on the Not Normal Network. N3Entertainment.com.
That was hot.
Hey, beer drinkers and beer lovers. This is Brent Shivey with Denver Brews Cruise, #1 rated brew tour in the Denver metro area. Enjoy yourselves and come take a ride with us. And you're listening to the Not Normal Network.
Man, that freaking 45-second commercial, that just felt like forever right there that we just did right there.
That was a long one.
Betsy, that was rough right there. But don't forget to always support the local businesses like the Denver Brews Cruise, like Good Sugar Baking. This is Beer for Breakfast. We're here hanging out at Factotum Brewing. It's interesting to talk about because we kind of said that before the break, but this is all about Lady Justice Brewing, and it's all about right now. And the question on a lot of people's mind right now is the future. Not like it's like anything uncertain in like a negative way for Lady Justice Brewing, but the future of this building where you ever resided for the last 2 years and been brewing beers, or roughly
about a year.
A year that you've been brewing beers here. This there's some interesting things going on. Anybody who follows the Colorado craft scene understands that right now Factotum is going through some shitty situation right now in this building, and you guys have been currently brewing in this situation. For somebody like Factotum, what the hell does that mean? Or I'm sorry, for somebody like Lady Justice Brewing, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, Factotum has been great. We've been really grateful for our partnership with them, and to be able to have taproom space and have a bigger space to brew. We ramped up when we moved in here. We went from a 1.5 BBL system to a 4 BBL system. We got another fermenter, and we were able to.
Because you're not using their equipment, really.
No, it's an alternating proprietorship. So we have our own deal, and they have theirs, and then we share tap.
As much as you mentioned about Wits End and Strange, it's really not like that, because Wits End and Strange actually have merged and use the same equipment.
Right.
You guys actually have your own small batch equipment. They even have their own small batch equipment right next to me.
Yeah, you're sitting, you're touching it right now.
Exactly. I'm going elbow to elbow with this guy over here. We're getting close. But they have their own jacketed fermenters and all of that stuff. You guys actually have your own tiny system within here, which is crazy that's like, able? Like,
yeah, so it's all what Whitsand and Strange
no, you
taught
couldn't
us.
sell beer out at a place over in you know what I mean, in West, or stupid Mountain View or whatever. Like, couldn't do all that. But over here, you can put a brewery in here, but not be their brewery.
Yeah, so it's as far as I can understand, is anybody in the state of Colorado can do this. So we potentially could have done this in Mountain View, but we just didn't have the space for it. So basically what we're doing is it's called an alternating proprietorship, and it allows the two businesses to essentially operate under one roof. So we still have our licensing with the federal government. We're still up to date and legal as our own entity, but we're still licensed at the Mountain View location.
Yeah.
So that's our production, quote unquote, facility.
So there's always a fallback plan if
Always.
need be. Then,
Yeah.
But it just sucks because for anybody out there, like Factotum is going through this whole issue right now, back and forth with month to month, and what's going to happen with this building. And you guys are almost caught up in it, like you're, like the single friend hanging out with a couple that's fighting. You're just like, what the is going on? Like, y'all, should I go home? Like, is that okay? Should I leave right now? Because like this doesn't seem very good. And we've seen kind of these issues. I mean, like you talk about a brewery like for Mantra that's no longer going to be a brewery because the landlord didn't want to deal with that. Now it's going to be a hookah bar. And so
Is it really?
Yes. And so we've seen like this is happening right now.
Yeah.
And the crappiest part about it is because of how much the brewery scene is growing and how much the economy is growing, and everybody moving out here, and it forces rent to go up.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to bitch about their houses and their mortgages and the price of housing or the price of renting and all that stuff. Imagine being a business trying to still keep itself above water when all of this is happening, and you're just like, wait a minute, how much you want more now a month for rent? Like, because our lease is up. Like, holy shit, are you serious?
Yeah, and so what you're seeing happening, something really interesting is happening right now, in that, the Colorado, the Denver craft scene specifically had a huge boom in 2012-ish. And so all of these breweries, that's when you started seeing so many great breweries that we know and love today, were establishing in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. Like, all of that was happening. So Factotum, they're 5 years old now, I believe 4 years old now. So they established in 2014, I believe, 2015, something like that.
They have a 5-year lease, though, that you signed
exactly.
as a renter.
So what you're
maybe
seeing
a 10-year
here,
lease.
Yeah. What you're seeing is a lot of these smaller breweries signed 5-year leases 5 years ago when the craft beer business was a huge boom. And now we're starting to see that craft is leveling off, and
I wouldn't say leveling off. I think it's just like it's firing at so many points that it's almost
the market
it's diluting
finally,
itself somewhat.
Yeah, there's
you know
a saturation maybe that's sort of happening. And this is happening right at the same time that everybody's leases are up for renewal.
Yeah, which is scary.
And
because a lot of these people bought these places 5 years ago when the market was extremely low.
Yep.
Extremely, extremely low.
Still in the recession.
Yeah. And so when you're now looking at these rents, and the rents might even not be that much considering how much, but it's the actual percentage of the rise of it all.
Well,
it's
and
not
you're
necessarily
looking
like,
well, Denver real estate also had a boom. So like all these things are sort of happening at the same time. So now that Denver real estate is worth so much more money than it was 5 years ago.
Because every damn poll and men's journal and women's journal, all this stuff is like, Denver's the number one city to move to. And you're like, shut the fuck up already.
Yeah, totally.
Stop doing this to everybody that lives here.
Right. So
but the businesses are now going to see this.
So it's a timing thing, honestly. It was the parallel between the real estate economy going through this sort of big boom in Denver. So landlords can now get a shit ton more money out of their buildings than they could 5 years ago.
Exactly.
And then you have these small businesses that are breweries that are up for renewal, and it's not always adding up all of the time.
Well, the crappy part is it's not that they're forcing breweries out of there. They're forcing breweries out with a little bit of money and going, listen, we want breweries here, but we want breweries with a lot of money. We want backing. We want these new ones that are going to have the new investors and all this shit.
Right.
And it's like a weird, messy part of this economy that's happening right now with everything happening. it's kind of scary to see this a little bit because we've seen so many breweries, we're at 8, 9 breweries or something like that, Lost Highway and and the fact that Fate and all these breweries,
State and Ironworks. I mean, just this week has been a big.
Ironworks a little different.
We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk. That was not a rent problem.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. And if all else, then you should have just closed down and sold it off to somebody else that would have rebuilt it years and years ago, which that probably would have been about 3 years ago where the market was about buying a brewery and rebuilding it. Nowadays, it's kind of tough because a lot of people just want the fresh new thing. They want the new brewery smell and the new business smell. And so for you guys, for you ladies, for Lady Justice Brewing and everything like that, that's where everything now has to come in because, the uncertainty alone has to make you think about what's the next step, obviously.
Well, and that's why, our relationship with Factotum has been great, and we have really loved having the opportunity to be in here and scale up a little bit in a way that felt good to us and get the tap room traffic, and we've gotten more fans from that and more customers, and it's been great. But and now we're at this place where Factotum's future in this building is a little bit uncertain, and
which doesn't mean it's the end of Factotum. It just means it's the end of possibly an era in this location or something like that, which we don't know. We don't know for certain. Right. It's more of a speculation. It's a month-to-month thing that is way out of our own knowledge and control. But for you as a business, you and your two partners, Jen and Kate, you all have to look at each other going, all right, what's our next step?
Exactly. And so it was a good time to evaluate where we are and where we want to be. And our agreement with Factotum was always short term. That was nothing that we were never planning on being in here that long. And so it just felt like the right time to be like, okay, things are uncertain here. Things are uncertain with us. Like, let's just take a step back and really figure out what we want to do in our future. And so that's sort of where we are now. We'll be here until June 16th is our last. We run this tap room on Sundays here. So if you ever come here on a Sunday, you would find us. But our last Sunday is June 16th.
Show your pride. Come down here, June 16th.
We're releasing a glitter beer on Pride Sunday.
Oh, hell yeah. There we go.
Yeah, and money from that will go to the Transformative Freedom Fund. And
the
Transformative Freedom Fund. Okay, so it's a nonprofit that helps fund people who are going through transition surgeries, essentially. And so we had our brewer Amy has a friend who's part of the leadership team there, and asked us to brew a beer. So it's going to be a really fun glitter. I think it's a Goza, and it's going to be super fun. So we'll be here until June 16th, and then after that, we're actually, the three of us, Kate and Jen and I, are just going to sort of actually enjoy a little bit.
Take a vacation. Please tell me you're going ladies trip. Like, you got to do something fun like that.
So this summer, because we all met doing AmeriCorps, we know exactly the day that we met. So this is actually our 10-year friendship anniversary. We're calling it 10-iversary. Yes. So us and our and all of our wives and husbands and partners are going up to the mountains with our other two friends who did AmeriCorps with us, and we're just gonna have the best fucking weekend ever.
There we go. She did it. Oh, I knew it was gonna happen. I'm so happy about that because that's how excited you are about this. You know what I mean? You just gotta just relish in the idea that, like, hey, with everything that we've been fighting for and everything that we've been doing and everything that we've been building and all the triumphs we've created, we're going to hit this kind of weird situation. And before we really try to really go into the next phase, let's take a second for ourselves to step back, get to know each other a little bit more, or get to talk to each other a little bit more on just a personal basis instead of just a, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What's the business? What's this? Like, just a chance for the ladies to get away.
Totally.
And, family, friends, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm really excited for that weekend. But, so Lady Justice is in a growth phase. And the startup, I can't imagine that any phase of a business is easy. This is not easy work that we do.
Transitional phases, though.
We're in a transition, and there's a lot. The decisions that we make over the next couple of months are going to have a big impact on our future. So we're taking it really seriously, and it is sort of the Lady Justice way to just sort of we're kind of risk averse people in some ways. we're okay with taking risks in the terms of concepts and ideas. Like, what happens if we start a CSA brewery? What happens if we operate out of this tiny abandoned car garage?
You should be making like your own mock video of you sliding out on the kitchen floor in your underwear,
exactly.
Totally. Getting all about the risky business.
Yes,
it seems
exactly.
but it seems like it's one of those things that you embrace, though. It makes you actually almost like step up to the plate and do better. Like a lot of people get a little bit nervous, they shake a little bit more, they sweat a little bit more, but it just seems like you're just kind of like, no, we've got this. Like we've got the confidence that needs to be there.
We know that. So having this philanthropic brewery was a pretty new idea when we set out. So we know that we were some of the first to do this work in the breweries. Brewing has always been philanthropic. Don't get me wrong about that. You know, tomorrow Great Divide could donate more money in one single check.
J.J. Watt after a hurricane. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, what?
So we know that we're still small, but the idea that people are investing their beer money in us because they like the idea of helping their community.
They believe in your idea.
Yeah. So they want to drink beer and also help their communities. And because of that, we want people to trust that our next step is going to be the best thing to do that. And so we're actually taking it slow, and we're going to be really careful about what we do next. Our dream world, honestly, is to have our own tap room. We want to step out. We want to have our own space at home that we can call our own, and really start to ramp up production so that we can be giving more money away. That's the ultimate goal. And so we're going to take time to make sure that our next spot is the right spot to do that.
So for you and for all three of you, what is it about the next place you feel like would be the most appealing place? Like, I mean, as much as you like doing small batches and stuff like that, as much as you have worked kind of within their parameters, but at the same time on your own, is there something that you're kind of maybe looking for that'll help maybe take Lady Justice to the next level by actually maybe using their equipment, brewing on bigger batches, maybe starting not necessarily distribution, but is there something that you feel like that you three have kind of discussed that is like kind of that next level? Because honestly, like within this show, every time I talk to somebody that's on the show, it's usually like we're brewing, we're distributing, we're brewing, then we're brewing bigger, and then we're distributing. But there's medians in between. And I feel like you three have probably found some of those fun, unique like spots. Totally.
For us, what feels good to me about Lady Justice is, especially with what we're seeing with the craft scene and where it's going, to me, it feels like if you're too big as a brewery, you're at risk right now of buyouts or closures because you ramped up too big too fast, or if you're the rent. So exactly. So for me, I actually kind of think that the sweet spot is to be able to find a place where you can be the neighborhood brewery, just like any corner bar or pub, to be the neighborhood brewery, be a place that people can rely on. And then for us, our philanthropic mission, that's our niche. And I don't think you need a niche to stay alive in the industry right now, but it helps, honestly.
Oh yeah.
And so for us to be a brewery that people can go to and be, we want people to feel like they can be themselves and feel good about walking into our space. So for us, like, we want the tap room itself to be a community space. We want our beer to be accessible in as many ways as we can make it. So for me, I want the tap room to just be a place that feels comfortable for anyone who's walking through the doors. But also, we've talked a little bit about, what does distribution look like on a smaller level. We're not thinking outside of the state of Colorado right now, but to do a little bit of distribution locally would be good for us. But for me, I really want that tap room to be a community event space and a community center where people can come together, do the good work that they want to do in their community, and also happen to have a beer while they're doing it.
It just seems like the more I talk with you, though, it almost seems like the more Lady Justice, LJB needs not necessarily to to share the room with other people, because it seems like what your mission is and what you ladies pride yourself on, and just how you go about day in and day out operations. It seems like that you're almost like the idea is right there to just have it. It's calling it to just have its own spot. But as tough as it is, and as safe as it sounds, the idea of brewing within a place or brewing within a future space or something like that is definitely a better idea, just because of the safety that comes along with it. The fact is that there's not as much risk with it all, and you can also help actually spice up another place that maybe needs a little bit of invigoration. You know what I mean? Lady Justice coming, it's not like I'm saying that you and Factotum are heading in different directions or anything like that, or Factotum is gone and then you're going to have to go somewhere else. But it's more the idea of like, now you can maybe help a place that's like trying to also help itself and figure itself out, Yeah.
I mean, part of my ultimate dream and goal with Lady Justice was to show other people that you can have a small business that exists for the purpose of improving a community. And so if there's a way that we can do that as a brewery, whether that be partner with somebody else, partner with another brewery, or find a way to include other small businesses in our model and what we're doing, that's something that we think about and we talk about a lot. And if the opportunity arises, we will certainly think about it very seriously. And in the meantime, it could be that a situation comes up. We've had a few people in other breweries say like, hey, if you need a spot, you're welcome to brew with us. So we've had some friendly people say, hey,
approach the idea of it all, but
to be able to collab in that way and do that. So we're open to collaboration, absolutely.
It just seems like you're looking for more of a long stay. Like you three are looking for more of something that like you can really, have longevity and a duration within a building and really kind of build that idea of what you're doing, and maybe even have opportunities to go to like, if one place has a second location, then brew even on a bigger batch or something like that. You know what I mean? And like, do fun stuff like that. So
absolutely,
It's interesting what you guys have going on right now. I have to say, I really love it, Betsy, because like you're in this perplexed situation that like, as a new business owner, it's one thing because you have your business plan, your business model, all this stuff. But for you, you're all reacting. Like, this is all like kind of now like, okay, I mean, how many times is somebody out there listening right now? How many times have you ever had like a landlord saying, I'm selling the place and it's not for rent anymore. You got to find a new place to go to. Like in the middle of your lease or whatever, you know what I mean? And like having something like that, you're just like, wait a minute, what the? And as a business, like we talked about, you have a backup plan. And for most of us, we probably have a backup couch or a parent's house that we can stay at or something like that. But the idea is to keep Lady Justice rolling. So where does Lady Justice like almost, how can it not skip a beat or two beats or whatever it is? And even as much as the idea of going and vacationing and doing all that stuff and finding yourself and just taking time for yourself a little bit with all the stress and madness, like coming back, I mean, you almost want to set that up before you go on this vacation, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. And for us,
you don't want to like go on a vacation with all your friends with this uncertainty of like, when we come back, do we have jobs? Like what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is like, I am never without Lady Justice, and Lady Justice is never without me. I mean, owning a small business and running that, it's always with you. There's always something to work on. There's always something to do. There's always decisions to make. There's always work to be done. And luckily, I get to do that with Kate and Jen, who are two of my best friends. And I know the advice is always to be, don't go into business with your friends. And I would say follow that advice if you need to. But Kate and I were in a different situation where we met as coworkers, and we worked together for 2 years before we started this. So we know each other really well. And so,
is there a nickname for the three of you, real quick?
There isn't.
There isn't?
There's no nickname for the three of us.
Really?
Yeah. It's for Betsy, Kate, and Jen.
KJB. I don't know. It's like almost sounds like Goldeneye. Like
there we go. Yeah. Russian operatives.
Exactly.
Or something
Snipers.
Like that. Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, overall, Lady Justice is.
I guess that'd be the nickname and proper name. What am I thinking right now?
we've just always been really nimble and really scrappy, and we're just getting to the point where it honestly feels like
it's time to get the claws out again, though.
I know. It feels like what we've experienced over the last 3 months is that the community is ready for us to be bigger than we are right now, which is a really special place to be. I actually think
supporting the hell out of you.
Yeah, to be in a place where people are actively wanting to know what we're doing next and wanting to support where we go next.
I'm pretty sure most people are listening to this episode were hoping that they were going to hear where you're going next, and you're like, sorry, I don't on vacation.
I cannot tell you where we're going next because I really don't know where that is.
No.
If I knew, I would say it, but I don't know. And it's very possible. If I was a betting woman, I would say that maybe we would collab with another location as a stopgap before we find our final location. But my personal goal for Lady Justice is to be in a good permanent situation by 2020.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like you said, is that you're not. And even a stopgap, like, it might sound bad, but it's not, because it might be a year, it might be 3 years, it might be the next stepping stone. Like you say 2020, but or 2022, like all of these dates kind of get like
nothing is ever. Time is not real in this industry.
You're like,
because,
this is what I say. I mean, anybody who opens a brewery,
like one inspection, one grumpy city inspector, and like you're sit back 6 months.
One of the first episodes of Beer for Breakfast had Fermanter on talking about how they had a year and a half of like delays and delays and delays.
Yeah.
And as shitty as it is now to say about it, you're like, they're not around anymore.
Totally.
And you're just like, damn, like people go through all this struggle and heartache and effort, and exactly what you are like doing right now and going through. Like the fact is that we've got Factotum right here through the doors that we're talking to. Like we're just talking on the backside of all this, and this is all happening right now, and who knows what's going on with them and you, and it's all because Denver is so great. Like as crappy as that sounds, it's like, we did this to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations, everybody. Round of applause. You're doing this. You're part of the problem. Yeah. Now figure out a way to help.
I know. Well, at the end of the day, the Denver brewing community is essentially a lot of really hardworking people who are passionate about their jobs. Yeah. And sometimes it works out in the best ways possible, and sometimes it doesn't. And anytime a brewery closes, there are so many things that happen behind the scenes that we don't know about. But at the end of the day, I doubt it's because people didn't have the passion to do what they wanted to do. So it's always a little bit heartbreaking when you hear that a brewery closes, because
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is heartbraking though. Yeah, for the most part. For 99.1.
Yeah. Sometimes there's tax evasion, and the owner just leaves in the middle of the night. But the other 99.9% of the time, they're really good, hardworking people who are small business owners, and I think that gets lost in it. Is that when people talk about craft beer and they want to know about the next beer trend, and they want to be at the best brewery, and they want to go, it's a cool place to hang out. It's part of the Denver culture. It is just in our DNA to like go drink a craft beer. Every house that I walk into a friend's house, walk into somebody's house for dinner, I'm offered a craft beer. Like it's just part of who we are. But at the end of the day,
they know you too well, Betsy.
At the end of the day, we're small business owners, and it's really hard work, and it's really it takes a lot of time and grit and all sorts of stuff. So always remember that when you're hanging out at a brewery, that it was built with a lot of literal blood, sweat, and tears.
Hell yeah. And it might even leave that way too,
it might, for some people,
so the interesting thing for everybody out there listening then is that Lady Justice right now is on the culmination of something incredible, something different, something somewhere in a different area, all that stuff. It's going to be crazy to see after 1 year of residing here, after the years of being built 4 plus 5, 6 years ago, of this whole idea of Lady Justice being the brewery it is, the nonprofits it works with. So now moving forward, it is all still a mystery.
It is a mystery, and actually that's kind of fun right now. I mean, fun in a really, that's not the right way to put it. It is stressful, but I am not worried about the future of Lady Justice. I am not stressed out about whatever would be It's going to be whatever is about to happen. And it's kind of fun because, like, honestly, Kate and Jen and I, we literally know as much as you do right now.
It's a reason to follow you on Facebook, on social media, all that stuff, because there is so much at hand.
We're pretty transparent.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, we're pretty transparent. So yeah, if you do follow us, you'll learn what we learn almost as soon as we know it. I mean,
I'm so excited to see what happens next, though, because I feel like there's a few places around town that would love to welcome you three in, and the model and Lady Justice and everything together, because what you do is so incredible, and the idea of these great beers supporting great causes that are all just to make a good beer, just to help a good cause. I mean, like, that whole idea. Like, that's what brewing beer is all about. When it's all, you know what I mean? When you think about it, it's all about supporting Communal, and Lady Justice Brewing is all about it. And I can't thank you enough, Betsy. This is awesome. This is so
this is
cool.
fun.
Yeah. Tune in next week as the Adventures and Tales of Colorado Ales continue, as we, see where it goes next. Just like what's happening with Lady Justice Brewing.
Dun, dun, dun.